This is TradeFlow News, bringing you relevant news and insights from around the world. TradeFlow News, enabling trade for SMEs and economies worldwide.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets.
China's crude oil imports from top supplier Russia fell in July by 7.4% from a year earlier, official data showed on Tuesday, in line with a broad decline in Chinese refiners' purchases that were curbed by tepid fuel demand at home. Russian oil arrivals, including via pipelines and shipments, totaled 7.46 million metric tons last month, or 1.76 million barrels per day, BPD, according to data from the General Administration of Customs. Total shipments in July into the world's largest crude oil importer fell to their lowest since September 2022 as weak processing margins and low fuel demand curbed operations at state-run and independent refineries.
Oil prices edged lower on Tuesday as Israel accepted a proposal to tackle disagreements blocking a ceasefire deal in Gaza, helping ease concerns over supply disruptions in the Middle East. Brent crude was down 67 cents, or 0.86%, at $76.99 a barrel, as of 0600 GMT. Front-month U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures, which expire on Tuesday, were at $73.75 a barrel, easing 62 cents, or 0.8%. The more actively traded second-month contract was last down 63 cents or 0.86% at $73.03 a barrel. Brent had fallen about 2.5% on Monday, while WTI eased 3%.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
Chinese biodiesel producers are seeking new outlets in Asia for their exports and exploring producing other biofuels as supply to the European Union, their biggest buyer, dries up ahead of anti-dumping tariffs, biofuel executives and analysts said. The EU will impose provisional anti-dumping duties of between 12.8% and 36.4% on Chinese biodiesel from Friday, hitting over 40 companies including leading producers Zhejiang Jiao, Henan Junheng and Longyan Zhuoyue Group in an export business that was worth $2.3 billion last year. Some larger producers are eyeing the marine fuel market in China and Singapore, the world's top marine fuel hub, as they seek to offset already falling biodiesel exports to the EU, biofuel executives said.
Deal-making activity in the oil and gas industry increased 57% last year as energy companies boosted development spending, driven by higher cash flows from profits in prior years, according to a report released on Tuesday. Top energy companies spent $49.2 billion on mergers and acquisitions in 2023, up from $31.4 billion in 2022. According to a report from Ernst & Young. The increase was mainly driven by mega deals among integrated oil and gas companies. M&A activity is expected to continue this year and into 2025, driven by more mega deals, EY said. Next, we have the top news in metal markets. China increased its coal imports from Indonesia, Mongolia and Australia. Customs data showed on Tuesday, as shipments surged in July on hotter weather. But Russian exporters were held back by sanctions and logistical issues. Indonesia, the largest coal exporter to China and the world, increased its coal volumes 22% on the year to 19.24 million metric tons last month, according to the General Administration of Customs, as importers turn to the low-cost supplier to stock up for the peak summer season. China's coal imports from all sources rose to a 7-month high of 46.21 million tons in July, up 18% on the year, customs data published on August 7 showed.
Copper prices in London fell on Tuesday on short covering after prices rallied in the previous sessions, while demand concerns remained in top consumer China. 3-month copper on the London Metal Exchange fell 0.5% to $9,210 per metric ton by 0552 GMT, while the most traded September copper contract on the Shanghai Futures Exchange advanced 0.2% to 73,800 yuan, $10,325.43 a ton. The recent price increase is from short covering, said Hong Kong-based analyst Matt Huang at Broker Bands Financial, referring to bearish copper position holders having to close their positions when prices rise to tame losses.
We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector.
China's soybean imports from the US jumped threefold in July from a year earlier, as the US growing season picks up, but Brazilian supplies still took the bulk of the market share, data from the General Administration of Customs showed on Tuesday. The world's biggest soybean buyer imported 475,392 metric tons of the oilseed from the United States last month, compared with 142,129 metric tons a year earlier, according to the data. Imports from larger producer Brazil eased 1.15% to 9.12 million tons. That is all for today's news on commodity markets. Stay tuned to TradeFlow News as we continue to provide you with more updates. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow News, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop to receive information from there.